Hello YouTube, and welcome to Draven's Classic Modular Reviews. This is a series of videos where I look over some of the classic adventures or modules or even the pre-written campaigns that I own. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing them all the ones that I own or not, but it'll definitely give me an opportunity to go through and read some of the adventures or modules that I bought a long time ago and never really got around to, as well as a chance for me to discuss some of the favorite pre-written adventures that I own, or even some of the ones that I've played or run through, things of that nature. So where this is episode number 1, I thought the most iconic place to start would be with module B2, Keep on the Borderlands. So this, for a lot of people, was their first adventure that they ever played in. This was included in the Dungeons & Dragons basic rule set. This is the only item from the basic rule set that I actually own, so I don't own any of the rules or anything like that. And that was part of the D&D basic line, which included the basic rules, expert rules, the immortal set, and I believe there was one more as well, but I just can't for the life of me remember what the name of that was. I'm always on the lookout for those. If I can find them at a decent price, I will definitely pick them up. But at this point in time, this is the only thing that I have. So this is an introductory adventure, and it even says on here that it's a special instructional module. And based on the date here, released in 1980. So Keep on the Borderlands, like a lot of the old school modules, the cover comes off and actually gives you the map of what is known as the Caves of Chaos. So the adventure itself, like a lot of them, the booklets came, like I said, they were completely detached. They weren't stapled to the cover themselves. And what it is it actually spends a lot of time in the beginning, because this is an introductory module, just explaining what a role-playing game is, tips for dungeon masters on how to run things, things like dividing treasure and computing experience, preparation for the module. So it goes into a lot of the basic information. The adventure itself has the players entering this keep on the Borderlands, and the keep is unnamed, as are pretty much everyone in the keep itself. So nobody actually has a name as written into the campaign. They're just usually referred to as their job title. So for example, you got the bailiff's tower, the superintendent or bailiff of the outer keep of the fortress is quartered here. The smithy and armorer, so you have the smith. Just, kind of a classic, definitely an old school sort of approach to the design. So you've got, like the chapel has the curate. So the curate is a 5th level cleric, and so it's just basically has that information for it. It goes into quite a bit of detail about the keep. It just doesn't have names for the people there as well. There's also the Mad Hermit that the characters can go up against as well with his pet puma. But the main focus of this, or the main event, I guess, of this module, is the Caves of Chaos itself. So it doesn't actually have the map here, like I said, it's on the back of the module, but you end up fighting against things like kobolds, goblins, there's an ogre, minotaur can be found in here as well. As you can see, a minotaur wearing chainmail or chain shirt, as well as some gnolls and an evil cleric, who, if I recall correctly, is actually someone who betrays the keep itself and is in league with all the creatures. The point of the module is for the player characters to clear out the caves, keep the monsters at bay, and eventually go up and face off against that evil cleric. So it's a pretty cool little adventure, and this is, again, something that is very nostalgic, I think, for a lot of people. I only had a chance to play through a little bit of the Caves of Chaos when a friend of mine was running a basic D&D game. I only think I played a single session, or maybe 2 at most, and I ended up making an elf as a character. But for a lot of people, this was their introduction to Dungeons and Dragons. And the Keep on the Borderlands adventure is such a classic, to the point where when 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons was beginning its open playtest, sorry about that. But when 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons was doing its open playtest, the very first adventure that they included in the initial test packet, which I do remember clearly from memory, was the Caves of Chaos. Keep on the Borderlands has been referenced in a few other ways. For example, the Hackmaster role-playing game had their module B2 for 4th edition come out as Little Keep on the Borderlands, and is, and again, an introductory module for characters. So this one is for levels 1 through 4. The original one was 1 through 3, and this is actually a licensed product by Wizards of the Coast, so they actually put their stamp of approval on it. I haven't had a chance to read through this one yet, so I'm hoping to do so at some point. But I picked this up solely based on the fact that it's just something that references, Keep on the Borderlands. And again, the reason that I picked up this isn't because I wanted to run it or play it, but simply because it's such an important piece of Dungeons & Dragons history, and as a collector, I felt like I needed to have this module in my collection. Now, if you look at it objectively from a modern standpoint, something of this, like the way that this is written, this adventure doesn't really hold up all that well, in terms of the fact that, there's none of the NPCs are fleshed out beyond what their jobs are. If you saw something like that today, it would probably be torn apart. However, this adventure is so iconic and so important to so many people that doesn't matter. And very few adventures, I think, would be able to pull that off to the point where, it's almost a joke that, yeah, nobody has a name, but it doesn't matter. It's just that important to gaming history. So now, in the comments below, if you've ever played through the Caves of Chaos, especially with, the 1980 D&D basic set, please let me know what your experiences were. I'd be interested to hear about it. Again, I never got a chance to really play through it myself, save for a little bit, and I want to say we ended up facing off against the Ogre, if I recall. Again, I wasn't in it for very long, but it seems like a lot of fun, and again, it's been revisited. There was like a return to the Keep on the Borderlands, which I believe was a 2nd edition adventure. The Keep, I think, has been used as a starting point for other adventures or modules that have been printed or at least referenced. And when 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons came out, their introductory adventure that they released was called Keep on the Shadowfell, which isn't a follow-up or anything to Keep on the Borderlands, but the fact that it was Keep on the something definitely was a way of referencing D&D's rich history. So again, this adventure is just such an important part of D&D history, and I would love to hear from anyone who's played through it what their thoughts are. And again, it's something that I felt like I had to own to be considered a D&D collector. So anyway, that's sort of my first video in this series, and I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to hearing your comments on it, and we'll see you next time. Hey everyone, there was part of this review that I completely forgot to include. It was something that I definitely had in my mind when I was doing the discussion on Keep on the Borderlands, but it was just something that completely just slipped out of my mind as I was doing the actual recording. Instead of going back and re-recording the entire video, I figured I'd just leave the video as it was and just record this little bit to tack on at the end. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about with this, and it's something that is true for a lot of the classic modules, so you'll probably hear me say it throughout other videos as well, but Keep on the Borderlands isn't afraid to be unforgivingly difficult. The Caves of Chaos don't really spell out a specific way that you should go through them in terms of what's easiest for the players to begin with. I mean, you do start off, I think, near the entrance to the caves, fighting things like goblins and kobolds and things like that are pretty simple. But if you end up taking a turn and walking into the lair of the Minotaur as first level characters, guess what? You're fighting that Minotaur. And a lot of early D&D had these types of adventures where player character deaths were almost assured, and a lot of people lost characters, I think, in the caves. But I think it's one of those other things that I want to discuss is the fact that they didn't try to hold your hand throughout it, and they didn't try to guide you specifically through the cave in the way that works best for the character progression. Simply, here are the caves, here are the entrances, and the player characters can go through and explore them however they want, and if they end up facing a monster that's too powerful for them, they can either try to retreat, or they can, fight and likely die. So, like I said, I think we ended up fighting an ogre when we played, and I know I was only a first level elf at that point in time, so I didn't have a lot of abilities to choose from, and I'm pretty sure we ended up fleeing from that fight, if I recall correctly. I want to say that's what ended up happening, but again, I think it's just an important aspect of this adventure as well, is that a lot of people got pretty used to, I think, character creation playing this, and again, it's one of those things that I don't think would work so well these days in terms of creating something kind of that unforgiving, but it worked really well, and I think it was a source of a lot of fond memories for people that took that wrong turn, and here was their first level mage with 2 to 4 hit points going up against this giant hulking minotaur. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that part into the video, because I think it is sort of an important part of the adventure's design and part of its charm. So I'm sorry I didn't include it in the video proper. I didn't bother resetting up the lighting or the miniatures or any of that stuff. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, that was a huge part of the adventure, and again, just kind of adds to the charm that this classic module has. Anyway, so this is the actual ending of the video. Thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you guys come back when I do more videos like this, and hopefully the future ones I'll get everything into the video proper and not have to do any more of these add-ons at the end. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, guys. We'll see you next time.